Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is May 30th, 2019, and today is Thursday morning. So looking at the major economic events of the day, just one event coming out of the United States at 2:30 South African time. It's a preliminary quarterly GDP numbers coming out. Now, this is not a major number that's coming out unless there are any surprises you do want to know about it. So it is coming out, and so I'm letting you guys know about it, but I don't expect it to rattle and shake the markets. But looking at the Forex symbols right now, South African down retraces at resistance, okay, versus the US dollar, while the major pairs are pretty much still down versus the USD. And it's very hard to trade around these levels because it just looks like it's trickling around its lows and then all of a sudden it just falls out of bed, but it doesn't give it to you so quickly. Okay, so with that said, we'll take a look at a couple of major pairs versus US dollars and see what we could see there. Now, looking at the indices, Dow Jones bounces off a support, which is really important because it really capitulated yesterday, breaking even 25,000. Now, jumping into the commodities, gold retraces while oil bounces off a support, which was anticipated, as did the Dow Jones. Lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin still very strong. But the question is that is it going to sustain itself? Okay, that's really the major question right now. And we'll talk about a few things that you could look at in order to see if it will sustain itself. Now let's just jump into today's trading and see what we can expect. So we're going to jump here into the Euro USD. As you can see, we are trading on we're looking at a daily chart, and you can see that we're really just, hovering around those lows at 1132-ish level. 1120-ish is really the low. So it's really hard to pick these bottoms at these levels because, ultimately, who's to say that this is going to be the low? Who's to say that it's not going to go further? And that's part of the problem about trading this area, is that around these levels, it really just is trickling. And then all of a sudden it just goes. Okay, so just be very careful. Even if you short it at these levels, or you buy it at these levels, it's very difficult around these areas because technically this is support line. Okay, it is at the bottom of the range, and I don't like to pick bottoms, but with all fairness to it, it is trading within these two ranges of 1220-ish level and 1120-ish level. All together, about 100 pips. So with that said, I'd also look to other currencies to see if they're falling down versus the USD, to kind of give me that confirmation that it is continuing to break down. Now, jumping into the GBP USD, it did bounce a little bit yesterday, as you can see that right there, but that's not something to write home about. Okay, this is really 126.31-ish level, and about 15 to 20 pips off of its lows, where ultimately it is trading in lesser volume and less volatility, and as such, you can see that quite clearly here. Okay, for this to break lower, it does need to have some volume involved in it, massive sell-off. I'm not sure if we're there just yet. Now, looking at the the USD ZAR, we retraced from our 1484 level yesterday. Okay, a nice fade, and this is what I spoke about yesterday. I'm not sure if the video went up, but I did speak about, when you have these type of spikes that, there's the counter move that comes off of it, and sure enough, that's what happened. I mean, it was a major counter move, but it did move the markets. Okay, so 1466 from 1484 is a nice retracement from there. Now, we're in between these two levels, so I wouldn't jump into this just yet. Okay, I would wait for some sort of confirmation in either direction. Maybe take a little bit of a bounce here. Okay, hitting maybe 1473 and then looking to short it. Because really we're in that middle gray area. If any of you have been to my webinars, you know that this is really trading right between the two extremes of a trading range, and you don't want to be trading in the middle. You want to either be on the top or you want to be in the bottom. So your probability trade is not so high at these levels. So I would wait for it to bounce a little bit more in order to short it, or for it to sell off a little bit more before buying it. Okay, in either case. Okay, I wouldn't also jump in so aggressively in the move. I would ease into the move and build the position. Now, lastly, looking at the Aussie USD, also we bounced yesterday, but really nothing to write home about. Okay, perhaps this is a bottom. Perhaps the euro will also bounce today. Something to consider as we enter today's trading session. Now, jumping into the commodities, gold sold off to 1277 from 1285-ish level, but still, again, it's trading within its range, hasn't broken that range, and we're even making a tighter range here because the wider range is 1294. Let's highlight this a little bit so you can see that 1293 is the upper range and 1270 is the lower range, and now we seem that we're making a subcategory of the range between 1277 and 1287 within this area. So we're at that bottom of that range. So perhaps this is possibility a decent place to actually pick up a little bit, with a stop loss right underneath it at 1270-ish, 1275-ish level, just in case, it does retrace further. But, ultimately, it's not the highest probability to trade, especially as we're going into June. Now, looking at oil, we bounced off of our second support of the Fibonacci retracements right there at $58 a barrel. Okay, we're finally capitulating there, and we're just trading above it. So the question is it going to sustain itself? That's what we're looking for, some sort of stability around $58 a barrel, perhaps to trade between, $58 and $62, and within these two Fibonacci retracement levels. So that's something to look at later today. Now, looking at the Dow Jones, all right, this is something that was pretty in the works of happening already this week. Okay, we started the week with a nice sell-off, okay, a little bit of a bounce, but then a nice really sharp sell-off from 25,700ish level down to 24,900ish level. Okay, so that's over a 800 point move in the Dow Jones, a massive retracement for the Dow Jones. Okay, we're trading at 25,142, and we haven't been at these levels since January. Okay, when we were just pushing it higher around these areas around back January. So with that said, there is a support level of 24,971, resistance at 25,400ish level. Okay, let's call it 380ish. That's more correct. So with that said, I'd look for a further bounce today, but if we don't get it and we break lower below 24,970ish level, we could see ourselves back into the 24,300ish level. Okay, things are not as rosy as we saw them about 5-6 months ago. Okay, there's a lot of concern in the markets, a lot of political concerns internationally between the U.S. and China, U.S. and Iran, and these things are causing havoc on the markets, and they're and just the consensus is just much lower. Now, jumping into Bitcoin, okay, we had that nice bounce the other day. Let's look at a 4-hour chart. And then, we sold off a little bit yesterday, and then bouncing off 85.50. We're getting back closer to the higher range. Now, again, for those who have been part of my webinars, you know that I don't like to trade the middle of the range. As it comes closer to the 9,000 area, perhaps maybe it could be a decent place to short it in anticipation it may go back down. But if it continues these type of spikes, okay, since they're fast and furious and unexpected, just be very careful to trade a very small amount, because ultimately, you could find yourself in either direction and it could go up against you. So far it's been trading somewhat within its technical parameters, if we call it that. Okay, it's been respecting the support level, respecting resistance, and really trading with character. However, it's still very thin. It doesn't have a lot of participants in trading it. It's cryptocurrencies, and as such, this is why it has these type of spikes. Okay, because it could be one or two people that actually could move the market in it. So just be very careful with it. If it does get closer to the 9,000 area, perhaps it would be a small short. Okay, and if it does definitely retrace back to the 8,000 level for a decent place to actually pick it up. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.